Rows of quiet houses, a handful of industrial units on the edge of Birmingham. To anyone passing by, it all looked ordinary. Nothing about these places hinted at what was buried beneath the surface, or who truly owned them. But behind these walls ran a network built on shadows, a fortune worth millions, scattered across streets that seemed untouched by crime. Every address linked by one thread, money that could never be traced back. For years, it grew in silence, until one day, it all fell. This is the story of a Pakistani gang who turned drug money into a 17 million pounds property empire, and how it all came crashing down. Welcome to the Crime Decoder. This wasn't just a smattering of properties or a side hustle. It was a sprawling, meticulously orchestrated 17 million pounds empire, encompassing 59 properties stretching from the student-heavy streets of Birmingham's Selly Oak to the tranquil seaside town of Bangor in Northern Ireland. Each property was strategically registered under the names of family members, close friends, or trusted associates to shield the true masterminds from law enforcement's gaze. The portfolio was a masterstroke of diversity. 34 student rental properties catering to university students, several industrial units leased to unsuspecting businesses, a commercial gym named Rampage Fitness humming with daily activity, and entire streets in Birmingham where the gang owned 5 or 6 houses on a single road. In Bangor, 3 properties, including a restaurant tied to the gang's relatives, served as remote outposts for their illicit operations. No deed, no title, no mortgage, bore the gang's names, a deliberate, calculated tactic to outwit investigators. Tenants paid rent via bank transfers, gym-goers lifted weights oblivious to the truth, and the restaurant served curry to locals, all while the empire expanded in plain sight. Yet every brick, every mortgage payment, every lease agreement was funded by the profits of heroin smuggled from Pakistan into the UK. Over nearly a decade, the National Crime Agency, NCA, would unravel how this empire was constructed. Piece by clandestine piece, as the gang laundered vast sums of drug money into assets that appeared unassailably legitimate. What looked like ordinary student lettings, family homes, and thriving businesses was the backbone of one of the Midlands' most sophisticated money laundering operations. But even the most carefully constructed empires have vulnerabilities. Investigators began tugging at loose threads, exposing a dark underworld of heroin trafficking, shell companies, forged documents, betrayal that would bring the entire operation crashing down. This is the story of ambition, greed, and the relentless pursuit of justice. At the epicenter of this operation stood Amran Zeb Khan, a 38-year-old resident of East Birmingham, a figure already known to local law enforcement for minor run-ins, but never pegged as a kingpin. Khan was no stereotypical crime lord flaunting sports cars or gold chains. He and his closest associates, Muhammad Ali, 36, and Sajid Hussain, 32, operated with surgical discretion, blending seamlessly into the working-class neighborhoods of Birmingham's eastern suburbs. Their strength lay in their connections. A network of suppliers in Pakistan, trusted middlemen in the UK, and operatives who moved drugs and money with the precision of a Swiss watch. This was no ragtag group of dealers, but a highly organized syndicate structured like a multinational corporation, complete with divisions for logistics, finance, and operations. The gang's lifeblood was the heroin trade, a high-stakes enterprise that generated millions in illicit profits. Each kilogram of heroin, once cut with additives and distributed on the streets of Birmingham, Manchester, and beyond, could yield upwards of £250,000. Between 2010 and 2013, their network, which also dabbled in cocaine trafficking, moved millions through an intricate web of laundering schemes. To protect this wealth, they needed a way to transform dirty cash into assets that appeared clean, stable, and capable of generating ongoing income. Real estate was their perfect vehicle. It appreciated in value, produced rental revenue, and offered a veneer of legitimacy that could withstand superficial scrutiny. As their wealth ballooned, they expanded their inner circle to include specialized roles. Muhammad Ashraf Khan, 49, was the logistics mastermind, coordinating the movement of drugs from Pakistan to UK streets, ensuring shipments arrived on time and undetected. Rajesh Patel, 52, was the paperwork expert, crafting forged documents and setting up shell companies to give shipments and financial transactions an air of legitimacy. Omar Isa, 36, and Imran Arif, 35, were foot soldiers, handling the physical delivery and pickup of drug shipments, deliberately kept at arm's length from the financial web to minimize risk. Zulfikar Munsaf, 38, served as the go-between, relaying messages between the ringleaders and operatives to maintain a layer of secrecy and insulation. By 2014, this Pakistani-led network was a fortress, shielded by layers of proxies, shell companies, and carefully orchestrated distance from the crimes they orchestrated. Their operation was a masterclass in discretion, with no flashy displays to draw attention. But their confidence, bolstered by years of success, would soon lead to a critical misstep. The gang's wealth was not built overnight, but through years of methodical drug trafficking and laundering. Beginning as early as 2008, from 2010 to 2013, their heroin and cocaine operations generated millions in cash, which needed to be cleaned to avoid detection by authorities. Front businesses played a pivotal role. The Taj Tandoori restaurant in Bangor, Northern Ireland, owned by Khan's relatives, was a key funnel, with hundreds of thousands of pounds deposited into its accounts, sums that had no legitimate explanation, far exceeding the revenue a small restaurant could generate. These early profits were reinvested into real estate, forming the bedrock of what would become a £17 million property empire by 2014. The gang's property portfolio was a strategic masterpiece. In Birmingham's Selly Oak, a vibrant area teeming with university students, they acquired 34 rental properties, capitalizing on the high demand for student housing. These properties, leased to students at the University of Birmingham, generated steady rental income while blending into the bustling neighborhood. Several industrial units in the West Midlands, leased to legitimate businesses unaware of their true ownership, provided additional cover and revenue. The Rampage Fitness Gym in Birmingham operated as a commercial front. Its daily operations memberships, personal training sessions, and gym classes, masking the flow of illicit funds. In some Birmingham neighborhoods, the gang went further, purchasing entire streets, owning 5 or 6 houses on a single road to dominate local property markets and create a sense of normalcy. In Bangor, 3 properties, including the Taj Tandoori restaurant, served as remote hubs for laundering cash, far from the NCAS initial focus in Birmingham. Every purchase was registered under Proxys family members, childhood friends, or associates with clean records to create a buffer against investigations. For example, a cousin of Khan's might appear as the owner of a Selly Oak rental, while a distant relative held the title to an industrial unit. This strategy ensured that no paper trail led directly to Khan, Ali, or Hussein. For years, it worked flawlessly. Tenants paid rent via bank transfers, gym memberships were sold, and the restaurants served customers, all while the empire grew under the radar. By 2014, the gang's property holdings were valued at £17 million, a testament to their ability to transform drug money into bricks and mortar. The heroin pipeline fueling this empire was equally sophisticated, as the gang orchestrated 2 major shipments in 2014, both originating from Lahore, Pakistan, and routed through the port of Karachi to London Gateway Port in Essex. The containers carried heavy industrial lathes, deliberately chosen for their size and complexity, which deterred routine inspections without specialized equipment. Hidden within the machinery were compressed packages of heroin, expertly concealed in hollowed-out compartments to evade detection. In February 2014, the first shipment slipped through customs unnoticed, its cargo of heroin potentially worth £5 to £10 million on the street, depending on how it was cut and distributed. Emboldened by this success, the gang planned a second, larger shipment, convinced their methods were untouchable. The unraveling of this empire began quietly in December 2011, when the Police Service of Northern Ireland (PSNI) flagged suspicious property purchases in Bangor to the National Crime Agency (NCA). 3 properties, including the Taj Tandoori restaurant, were owned by individuals with minimal legitimate income, a classic hallmark of money laundering. For instance, one owner, a relative of Khan's, reported an annual income of £15,000, yet held a property worth £300,000. The NCA launched a civil recovery investigation under the Proceeds of Crime Act 2002. It's a powerful legal tool that allowed them to target assets without immediately needing criminal convictions. This approach was critical, as the gang's use of proxies made it challenging to link properties directly to Khan, Ali, or Hussein. investigators traced connections from Bangor to East Birmingham, where a cluster of 59 properties was registered under the names of Khan's family and associates. They scrutinized bank accounts, property deeds, tax records, and land registry data, uncovering glaring discrepancies. One case was particularly striking. An individual earning £20,000 annually owned multiple properties worth over £1 million combined, including 3 student rentals in Selly Oak and an industrial unit in Smethwick. As Andy Lewis, head of the NCAA's asset denial team, later remarked, such financial inconsistencies were like hairs standing up on the back of your neck. By 2012, the NCAA had mapped out a sprawling web of suspicious acquisitions, including the 34 student rentals, 5 industrial units, the Rampage Fitness Gym, and the 3 Bangor properties. While they suspected drug money was the source, they lacked direct evidence of trafficking, a gap that would remain until 2014. The investigation was a masterclass in patience, prioritizing financial patterns over premature arrests. The NCAA compared declared incomes to asset values, examined property transactions, and tracked cash flows through shell companies and front businesses. The Taj Tandoori restaurant emerged as a key laundering hub, with deposits of £200,000 in a single year that far exceeded its legitimate revenue. Investigators also identified shell companies, empty entities with names like Midlands Property Solutions, Ltd, used to funnel money into real estate purchases. Throughout 2012 and 2013, the NCAA built a detailed picture of the empire's scale, but they needed concrete proof of its criminal origins. That proof would come with a shipment that changed the course of the investigation. In mid-2014, the gang's second shipment became their undoing. Following the undetected February shipment, they organized another container from Lahore, routed through Karachi to London Gateway Port. Like the first, it carried heavy industrial lathes, with heroin hidden in hollowed-out compartments. But this time, Border Force officers, likely tipped off by intelligence from the NCAA's ongoing investigation, grew suspicious. Routine checks revealed anomalies in the lathe's weight and construction slight inconsistencies that suggested tampering. When officers used cutting tools to open the machinery, they discovered 165 kilograms of 58% pure heroin, capable of producing up to 2 million street deals with an estimated value of £19 million. Rather than seizing the drugs immediately, the NCAA and Border Force devised a high-stakes plan. They reassembled the lathes, leaving the heroin intact, and allowed the container to continue its journey under surveillance. This risky strategy aimed to expose the entire network, from low-level operatives to the ringleaders. Surveillance teams, equipped with cameras and audio equipment, tracked the cargo to an industrial unit in Sandwell, West Midlands, a nondescript warehouse in an industrial estate. On a late summer evening in 2014, Omar, Isa, and Imran Arif arrived to unload the shipment, unaware they were being watched. Their every move in loading the lathes, checking the cargo, and discussing the next steps was captured by hidden surveillance. The footage showed them handling the machinery with care, expecting to extract millions in heroin. This sting was the breakthrough the NCAA needed, providing undeniable evidence linking the drug operation to the property empire. The Sandwell sting was a game-changer. The seizure of 165 kilograms of heroin and the surveillance footage of Isa and Arif gave investigators the critical link between the drug trade and the property empire. The NCAA expanded its operation, launching a parallel criminal investigation with Border Force and West Midlands Police. They meticulously examined bank accounts, property deeds, and company records, tracing the flow of drug money into real estate. The discrepancies were staggering. Individuals with annual incomes of £15,000, £25,000 held properties worth hundreds of thousands, often multiple homes or commercial units. For example, a cousin of Khan's owned for Selly Oak rentals valued at £800,000. Despite working part-time as a delivery driver, the Taj Tandoori restaurant in Bangor was a focal point, with investigators alleging it funneled £500,000 in drug profits into Birmingham property deals between 2010 and 2013. Phone records, shipping documents, financial trails all pointed to Amran Zeb Khan as the ringleader, with Muhammad Ali and Sajid Hussain as his key lieutenants. The roles of Muhammad Ashraf Khan, Rajesh Patel, Omar, Isa, Imran Arif, and Zulfikar Munsaf became clear. Logistics, paperwork, deliveries, and communication, all orchestrated to keep the leaders insulated. Throughout 2015 and 2016, undercover surveillance continued, capturing phone calls, meetings in Birmingham cafes, and financial transactions that solidified the case. For instance, intercepted calls revealed Khan discussing property investments with Ali, using coded language to refer to drug shipments. By early 2017, the NCA was ready to dismantle the operation. In early 2017, the NCA, in coordination with West Midlands Police, executed a series of coordinated raids across Birmingham and the West Midlands. On a cold February morning, armed officers descended on multiple addresses. Amran Zeb Khan was arrested at his modest home on Cabome Road in Small Heath, a far cry from the wealth he controlled. Muhammad Ali was detained at his residence on Wincliffe Road, and Sajid Hussain at Fieldhouse Road in Yardley. Omar Issa, Imran Arif, Muhammad Ashraf Khan, Rajesh Patel, Bonzolf were also apprehended at their homes across Birmingham. The arrests sent shockwaves through the city, exposing a network that had quietly embedded itself in the local property market while importing heroin worth tens of millions. Investigators presented the gang with overwhelming evidence. The 165-kilogram heroin seizure, surveillance footage from Sandwell, shipping documents from Pakistan, bank records showing unexplained deposits, and land registry data linking the 59 properties to the gang's proxies. Most members remained silent during interviews, adhering to a code of silence, but Zulfikar Munsaf, the go-between, pleaded guilty early, admitting his role in relaying messages between the ringleaders and operatives. His cooperation provided valuable insights into the network's hierarchy and operations, confirming Khan's role as the mastermind. The others prepared to face trial, charged with conspiracy to import heroin and money laundering, setting the stage for one of Birmingham's most significant organized crime cases. In July 2017, Birmingham Crown Court heard the case against Amran Zeb Khan and his 7 associates. Over weeks, prosecutors painted a vivid picture of a sophisticated operation, linking the gang's £17 million property empire to a highly organized heroin trafficking network that spanned continents. Jurors were shown evidence from the Sandwell sting, including surveillance footage of Isa and Arif unloading the lathes, unaware they were being watched. Financial records detailed how drug profits were laundered through shell companies and front businesses like the Taj Tandoori restaurant, then funneled into 59 properties across Birmingham and Bangor. The prosecution emphasized the gang's corporate-like structure, with each member playing a specialized role in a conspiracy that exploited the UK's property market and fueled the devastating heroin trade. Witnesses, including NCA investigators and forensic accountants, testified about the scale of the operation. One expert explained how a single kilo of heroin, purchased for £5,000 in Pakistan, could be cut and sold for £250,000 on UK streets, generating the millions that funded the property purchases. Shipping documents revealed the Lahore-Karachi-London route, while bank records showed cash deposits far exceeding the legitimate incomes of the proxy owners. The Taj Tandoori restaurant was highlighted as a key laundering hub, with deposits of £500,000 in a 3-year period that could not be explained by its modest revenue. The prosecution argued that this was not a loose collection of drug dealers, but a disciplined syndicate that had embedded itself in Birmingham's economy, exploiting the property boom to clean its dirty money. The sentencing reflected the gravity of their crimes. Amran Zeb Khan, 38, received 22 years for masterminding the heroin imports and orchestrating the laundering scheme, his leadership central to the empire's success. Muhammad Ali, 36, was jailed for 22 years as Khan's trusted partner, overseeing key aspects of the drug and property operations. Sajid Hussain, 32, got 22 years for managing import routes from Pakistan and coordinating distribution plans in the UK. Muhammad Ashraf Khan, 49, was sentenced to 17.5 years for handling logistics, ensuring drugs moved seamlessly from source to street. Rajesh Patel, 52, received 15.5 years for falsifying paperwork and setting up shell companies to legitimize shipments and financial transactions. Omar Issa, 36, was given 15.5 years for handling deliveries, including the fateful Sandwell shipment. Imran Aref, 35, received 10 years for his role in receiving shipments and assisting in logistics. Zulfikar Munsaf, 38, who pleaded guilty, was sentenced to 14 years for acting as a go-between, relaying messages to keep the ringleaders insulated. The group faced a combined 139 years in prison, a powerful statement against organized crime. The NCA, under the Proceeds of Crime Act, seized all 59 properties, which were sold at auction for an estimated £17 million. The proceeds were split between the Treasury and the NCA, with the latter's share reinvested into anti-crime initiatives, ensuring the gang's wealth was redirected to combat future criminality. The collapse of the £17 million empire exposed the chilling reach of organized crime, from the heroin fields of Pakistan to the quiet streets of Birmingham and Bangor. The NCA's 8-year investigation, blending civil recovery and criminal probes, demonstrated the power of targeting assets to dismantle sophisticated networks. The case revealed how deeply crime can infiltrate everyday communities, hiding behind student rentals, gyms, and family-run restaurants. It also highlighted the devastating impact of the heroin trade, which fuels addiction, destroys lives, and funds empires like this one, leaving a trail of misery in its wake. Yet the case raises haunting questions. Were the sentences, totaling 139 years, sufficient for an operation that flooded the UK with heroin worth tens of millions and laundered £17 million through property? Could earlier intervention, perhaps, in 2011, when the PSNI first flagged suspicious purchases, have disrupted the empire's growth before it reached 59 properties? Did the use of proxies and shell companies expose gaps in the UK's property registration and financial oversight systems, allowing the gang to operate undetected for so long? The case also underscores the broader challenge of combating global drug trafficking, where international supply chains and local markets intersect, often outpacing law enforcement's resources. The success of the NCA's operation is a testament to persistence, innovation, and collaboration between agencies like Border Force and West Midlands Police. But it also serves as a warning. For every empire dismantled, others may be quietly rising, hidden in plain sight behind the facade of ordinary businesses and homes. The case prompts reflection on how communities can protect themselves from becoming unwitting hosts to such networks and whether stronger regulations, such as tighter scrutiny of property ownership or cash deposits, could prevent similar schemes in the future. What do you think of this case and the justice served? Were the sentences fair, or should they have been harsher given the scale of the harm caused by the heroin trade and the laundering operation? Could stronger oversight have stopped this empire in its early stages, or is the global nature of drug trafficking too complex to contain? How can communities and authorities work together to detect and disrupt such networks before they grow to this scale? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into the Pakistani Gang's £17 million property empire gripping, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more true crime stories on the Crime Decoder.